All right, so I'm specifically showing you the new data logging software. So in this example, we'll see how you can see the weight shows up here. If the weight changes on the readout, if I add more weight, you can see weight changes, right? So this one will pair with the L2 software. So it will have company name, customer name, address, city, state, zip, and phone number with the tracking and pieces. This specifically is what the customer wanted. We can make software for you, whatever you want, to appear on the L2 label. These are 4-inch by 6-inch labels. So you can see on how it will appear. You can have your company name, your destination, in this case, company name, customer name, address, city, state, zip code, the phone number of the customer, the tracking number, date, time, gross, tear, net, and the amount of pieces that are weighing. If you want some characters, you don't want pieces, you don't want the tracking number, whatever you don't want, we can make that for you in the specific version of software just for you. This is for like shipping labels. You place it on container, place it on whatever you're weighing. The customer knows all the information that they need to know, and it'll be on the package itself. So this version of software could open up text files, and you could save specific. In this example, I save a John and Ethan folder with their company name, address, city, state, and their phone number of the specific customer. And you can have customers for any one you want. I kept it on my desktop, but you can keep it anywhere. And this software will allow you to keep records of all your customers. And when you open, let's say I open my Ethan folder, it will auto populate with the company name, customer name, address, city, state, zip code, and phone number of that customer. If by any chance they change address, so instead of 305, let's say they change to Millen Street. So, and street. Then when I click print, yes, it updates it on the label itself. But if I check my Ethan folder, it actually saved the new street for that customer. So when I auto populate again, right, I open my Ethan folder, it will update with whatever the new customer address is. So if I'm making changes and want to save it, you can either edit a text file, or you can just edit it here, print a label, and it will automatically save to the save text file. And this particular software, very useful for L2 label. So I'll show you more in depth. Hello, so we're going to show you today the custom software that we wrote for the L2 printer that prints your 900 indicator. So this is the newer data logging software. So what we have to do to set up is hold down the hold and print button for 2 seconds. This is C01. I want to go left, make that to 1, go right, and make that to 8. See the up arrows, give you directions. C18, make sure it's 3, so you go up, down. C18 has to be 3. And C19. C19, also 3, which is the default. After make sure the 2 settings are set, that's the only 2 settings you need to worry about. And you get your DB9. So DB9 to USB cable. So you actually plug this in to your computer. Okay, so you see I'll plug it in. I actually don't need to touch the buttons here because the software will automatically tear, get 0, you can get the weight and print from the software itself. So you actually don't really need to touch the indicator itself once it's plugged in, because the commands will go to the indicator and then the indicator will respond back. And then now you get your cable for your L2 printer. That should be something like this, where it has the DB9, in this case female to female, because the connector itself is a male, so you can connect a female into it, and then the other end is also female because the same cable, the DB9 to USB, is a male. So you can plug these two in. It doesn't matter which end you plug in. Plug this end to your printer and a USB to your computer. So you can see I have my desktop, and here's my printer on the side here, and indicator. So all the controls will come from the software itself. So I plug in the two USB cables, and what you could do is right click on the start button and go to device manager, or in the keyboard search area just type in device manager. It's built into Windows, so you'll see it. And once it loads, you'll see all the ports. So you click on ports, and you see I have currently port COM3 and COM8. Which one is which? The software will automatically scan all the available COM ports and find out which COM port it is and open it up. So that's why it's important for C18 equal to 3, because it's specifically looking for the string output that the indicator only could provide. No other COM port, the printer, nothing else that has a specific string. But if you're still wondering, you could follow the cable, and you'll see when I unplug the cable to my indicator, my readouts, I had port COM3 and 8. Now I only have COM8, which is my printer. I'll plug in that readout back in, and you will see I have now COM3 available. So COM3 is my readout and COM8 is my printer. So whatever yours is going to be different. Your Windows automatically assigns it depending on how many devices you have plugged in. It might be COM1, it might be COM12. The software will adjust for it. You should figure out which one's yours. So I have it copied over to my desktop. You can just copy and paste over, and specifically you're going to look for the main.exe, right, or just main, in this case, application. Click on it, and it will scan all the available COM ports, look specifically for the one, that indicator, and you'll see the actual software appear. So this is just the general overview of the software itself. You can see the weight is numbers turn red when the weight is not stable, and if the weight is stable, it'll turn green and it'll say stable. Once it automatically finds a COM port, it will show the COM port of the indicator, the readouts on this section. You could zero whatever you want on the scale. You could tare, and you could do it from software. So if I tare, you see now it says 0 pounds and you're in net weighing mode, because I tared out whatever I had on the scale. And if I want to go back, you can just press tare or press gross, either way, to go back to whatever gross. So you remove the tare. Units, just change it from pounds to kgs or whatever the units you're switching between. 0, which is 0 out, whatever's on the scale. So 0 and tare will be a little bit different, because 0 you're able to clear whatever's on the scale, while tare will actually save what you cleared off. Sometimes you want to have the container on there and remove that container weight and just weigh the product itself. So that's what you want to, if you want to know what container weighs, you want to keep it, then tare it. If not, then you can zero it out. And this is just the general section, in the section for if you're going to use manual log, but you're probably not going to use it. You could have destination here where you put the company name, the customer name, the address, the city, state, zip code, the customer's phone number, the tracking number, and the amount of pieces that they're using. But these entries are all custom made. If you want a custom software made just for you with certain entries on label, you can have that done for you. And you can select file, print, settings, and help. So this is what you got to do. Labels here the steps 1 and 2. So first, verify your COM port in the settings. So you click on settings, you have a window. These other ones are not that important, like which indicator or printer type. They're not needed because it's already programmed for the 900. And right now, you see right now it says COM8 by default, but yours might be COM7 for the printer. It's not going to show up the COM port for your indicator because it's already been used up. You can't open 2 COM ports at the same time. That's a Windows thing. So since you only have 1 COM port at a time, I only have 1 left, which is our printer. But if you have multiple COM ports still plugged in, you might see more than just COM8 here. You might see 8, 12, 15. So you got to specifically unplug and replug and see which one is your COM port for your printer. Once you find it, click on here and then click save. And you'll see COM8 was saved onto the software. You only have to do this once, because once you first set it up, it will save it to the file, and when you rerun the program, it will save whatever previous COM port you're using. So you close this, and now the next step will be to actually open the text file. This is a text file that saves records for the customer. So specifically, this customer wanted the company name, the customer name, the address, the city, state, zip code, and phone number for the customer, and then given their tracking number for UPS, FedEx, USPS, or DHL, whatever you're using, and the amount of pieces they want. But you get a custom-made software, whatever information you want on there. And then you can see it says select file. So you can select your file and where you're going to save it to. These are all customers are saved into a text file. So, for example, for my example, I'm just keeping it on the desktop and calling it test. But if I didn't have it, I can, let's say this was not there. Right on my desktop, I could right click new and then create text document and type in the name. So for example, let's say I'll put it number 33 as an example. And I can press enter and I save my text file as number 33 text. You call it whatever you want to call it, and you can save it to whatever folder you want to save it to. In this case, I put select file, and when you click on desktop, you see number 33. 33 is on there. So now I could open it up, and the company name, customer name, address, city, state, zip code, and phone number will autofill if it's a previous customer. So it'll keep record of the previous customer you've had if they have the information. Tracking number and pieces will change depending on what order you have, but it will save the first 5 items here. So I use an example of, let's say I have a sample on here ready, and I have company name, the name of the customer, their address, and their phone number. So I'm just going to copy it and paste it onto my number 33 folder. And you could call this the customer name, for example, if you want. You click save. Now it is saved. And I just close this, go back here. So now I'm going to reopen the file, right, desktop, open up that number 33 file again. And you'll see the customer name, company name, Optimum Scale, John, with the customer address of 1930 Bridgeville Place, and Rancho Cucamonga, California, 91730, and their phone number. And I could type in, let's say, their tracking number, whatever it is, and you could put the piece count as well. So if you have the amount of pieces you're weighing, if you don't want the information, you could have custom software made for you with whatever information you want on the L2 label itself. So remember, you already set it up, so you already fill in all the categories. And remember, when you press print, it will autosave to that text file. So right now it's my number 33 file. So when I click print, it will print my label. It will print the destination, the company name, the customer name, the address, the city, state, zip code, the customer phone number, their tracking number with the current date, the time, the gross weight of my readout, the tare weight is 0 pounds, and the net weight, and the amount of pieces they have weighed. This information you can have all custom made for you with your company logo, address, phone number, whatever you want. This is specifically for shipping to this customer with this many pieces and whatever weight they're weighing. In the software, you'll see up here the current weight of whatever's on the indicator. So this matches my indicator on here, and it will say if it's stable or not stable. If the weight's moving around a lot, that's why it's still not showing as stable. But that's what you're able to do. And you're able to control, and you'll see the 0 button, the units button, the tare button, and the gross button. So if you want to tare something on the scale, you could do that, or just press 0 button. The tare will have the advantage of you actually see whatever you tared off on here, while 0 does not. And you're able to go back and forth between net weighing mode, which is you tear something, or gross weighing mode. And the manual log, continuous log, and log when stable, it's not important unless you're logging something data. Most likely you're not. You're using it with the L2 label, so you have to worry about that. But just know that the whatever information, and if it's changed here, if the customer changes his address, changes name, different company, different phone number, you'll see it will save whatever's here. So any changes made on here will automatically save it to a text file on there and help. So the help will be useful. If you have any problems, look first at the help button. It will help explain how the COM ports work, on how it auto-assigned the COM port to a printer and indicator, and it will say the character limit, because there is a character limit to the printer itself. It's not a problem with software, but the printer only had 100 variable characters you could work with. So you'll see on the first line, company name, move this over, company name, it's 1 character. It doesn't mean like one individual character, it means one word until it sees a number. So this example, you see Optima Scale is good for a company name. Optima Scale 1 is bad. Why? Because if I put Optima Scale 1, then it will ignore all the letters and spaces before the number and actually only show the number 1 on the label. This is a problem with the printer and not the software. But if you change that number 1 to the letter 1, that's okay. So some of these you have to work around the limitations of the printer itself. So I'll show you an example of that. Open up desktop. So in this example, I have saved my number 33 file, which is from a specific customer, and you could have the customer name on there, for example. And if I change this to Optima Scale 1, and now I try to print, and you don't have to fill in all the sections for it to print. If you don't have the customer phone number, you just don't put it, and it will still print a label. You can have all the information missing and still print a label. So let me just print a label to show you. And you can see how only the number 1 appeared because I put Optima Scale 1. The number 1 would clear out anything before it. So at least for the company name, and it also explains it here, company name, the customer name will do the exact same thing. John Fu is fine. John Fu, the number 2, is bad because it will only show the number 2. But John Fu the second, that's okay. And it will be the same for the phone number. If you put 1-800 number and you put extension 2, since it sees a number after a character, it would ignore everything before it. So you can see on phone number, it has the same as company name, same characteristics. If it notices a number you typed in after a letter, it will ignore everything before the number. So in this example, if I put, space, let me get this out here. I say the extension was number 3, and you could also type in, let me get my keyboard. Extension 3, and then now I try to print a label. You can see the phone number only showed the number 3. It ignored all the characters before the number. So in this example, you have to literally spell out the number 3. In this example, if you want to use an extension number for phone number, same with the customer name and same with the company name. You're going to have to, instead of Optima Scale 1, you're going to have to type in the character 1. So if I actually print, you'll see Optima Scale 1, good. 1-800 extension 3, good. But I cannot add a number to company name, customer name, and phone number. This is a limitation because there's only so many variables you can work with. But and same with pieces as well. But pieces usually just a number, so you don't have to worry too much about that. If it's a number followed by letters, it's fine. It just once it notices a new number, it will ignore everything before it. But for customer address, no problem. And if you go back to my sample, you can see how I have different examples to use here. So let's say I have 9030 Bridgeport Place building number 1. The other ones will not work if you did that, but in this section specifically, I could copy and paste 9030 Bridgeport Place building 1, and if I try to print, and you have to fill in all the sections, you see 9030 Bridgeport building 1. So the difference is for the address, the city, state, zip code, and the tracking number, they work in individual characters instead of a whole string. I know it might sound very confusing, but just know that the address has 36 individual characters, which includes spaces, commas, and ampersands. So 9030 Bridgeport Place is good. 9030 Bridgeport Place building number 1, good. 305 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Street South, apartment 1303 is bad because it's too long. It's 50 characters long, and you will need to shorten it. Because remember, there's only 36 available characters for the address, which is the address line. So I could actually show you that because I have it here. And it would actually cut off the numbers because it's not able to register that many characters. For most people, 36 characters is enough. UPS on their address line is only 35 characters. So it's kind of a limitation. For most carriers, only have a certain amount of characters anyways. So it shouldn't be too big a deal. It should be able to fit most people. So we're here, and I was just going to show you the example of the super long string that's 50 characters in length. So I'm just going to copy it in the address bar. So you can see, copy the entire thing. And now when I try to press print, you can see it printed it up until street. So it stopped on street, which is the 36 character, and will not fit. I mean, you could theoretically move it over more, but there's a limitation on how many characters you can use total for the entire program. Since 36 of the 100 characters available are going to the address, you have to shorten it down. So in this example, you have to shorten it down to 305 Dr. MLK Jr. Street South instead of spelling out South, and then this will be fine because it's only the 30 characters long. So if I paste this, so you can see how now the entire address fits. That's the limitation on the printer, not software. If I could do more variables, it could do more. And it's the similar concept with the city, state, and zip code. So limitation on this one, click help again. It's limited to 33 characters. So an example, Rancho Cucamonga, comma, California, space 9130 is good because it's only 26 characters. So spaces, commas, ampersand, all that counts as a character. So if there's 33 individual characters, that's your limitation. It should be able to fit most, if not all, addresses, states, and zip code for any customer. So if you ever see it cut off, now you know why. And with tracking number, usually the limit on tracking numbers are the longest, which is usually your USPS, which could be like 22 characters. UPS and FedEx are usually smaller. So back to the help, you see the tracking number 22 individual characters, so it's the same properties as the address. It's one character, each one including spaces and all that. So in this example, if I have this tracking number here, and I could actually try that, and if I do one piece, for example, then I print. And you can see the entire thing, because it could fit 22 characters, it could be shorter, that's fine. These are individual characters. I let the customer know the tracking number on the label and the amount of pieces, which, I mean, you could put like one piece if you want. It's up to you if you want, but it won't have an issue. It just, you can't have a number followed by a variable and then a number. It's the same properties as company name and the customer name and phone number. So you could have letters, that's fine. Just once you have a number after letters, it ignores everything before the numbers. I know, very confusing concept, but that's an issue with the L2 printer. That's how the firmware is. I can't change that. But that's kind of it for how this software works. So if you want any other information where the user using the software could enter in any information you could think of. This example, if a specific customer wanted the company name, customer name, address, city, state, zip code, phone number, tracking number, and pieces. But if you want something else, where someone types in certain information and saves records of all the previous customers, because it'll all be saved as text file. We could do that. Whatever you're looking for specifically, we can make it for you, the software. In this example, this is what the customer wanted, but we can make it whatever you're looking for. Save it, whatever you want, and that's what will help you out. And if you have any issues, you call in and help the YouTube video on this stuff, right? If you clicked on it, this is how you go to YouTube video on all this stuff. It will help you out. All right, so if you have your software ever freezes on you, it could be a computer issue, maybe the COM port issue. Always make sure C18 is equal to 3 and C19 equals to 3. Those are the most important thing, and make sure it's plugged in. So in this example, this is just general troubleshooting I can help you with. So let me close this. Right, you have your folder here. You have your main. So if you want, you could right click, create shortcuts. So I have my main shortcut, and you can rename this whatever, like log software. Right. And I could actually move this to my desktop. So you can see it already has its own icon. So if it makes it quicker, so you could have it on desktop so you could easily open and close. And if you have any problems where the software is not opening for whatever reason, let's say I don't have it plugged in, I have my USB cable here, right? I didn't plug it in, and I try to run a software and it's just stuck. Don't worry, it's constantly searching for a new COM port. If you plug it in now and wait a couple seconds, it's Windows initializing the COM port, assigning it, and then the software is slowly noticing, and then it opens it up. So if you have any problems with that, then just make sure it's plugged in, re-plug it in, take it out, plug it back in, and it should be able to show up at least the interface. That's how you know you're doing good. If the software freezes on you and it stops, could be a Windows issue. You can also unplug it, because if I unplug it now, you'll see the software actually closes. So try it, right? Replug it in, run software again, and it will re-find the COM port. So it's okay. And if it does not print, if that's your issue, make sure your printer is plugged in the back. Make sure you use the cable that we provide, the DB9, and the DB9 to USB. It's more of an issue with the DB9, making sure that's the correct cable. You can use whatever DB9 to USB cable you want. It's usually that DB9 cable on a printer that has the issue. But make sure the settings, always go settings, just because it says COM9, but your COM port for your printer might be different. That's what's previously saved. If the previous save file had COM1, here's COM7, you gotta make sure it's the correct COM port. So always click on this, and you'll find all the available COM ports, and make sure you assign it to the correct COM port. If it does not print, and the software is working fine, you most likely did not connect the cable, you most likely did not set the correct COM port. Make sure you select the correct one, and make sure you click save. If you don't click save, it will not save it for future usage. And you'll know COM port saved, and it will store it, save for later. If you switch computers, reassign the COM port. That's the most important part. Your Windows computer assigns COM ports automatically, and the software tries to guess as much as possible, but it can't know exactly. If you switch computers, reassign COM port, and you close it, and then you could open your text file. I have it on my desktop. I call it number 33. It will auto-populate with all the customer's information. So in a situation, if this customer name was John, then I could save it as John. So I'm going to reopen the file again because it's looking for number 33. Right? And it fills in all the information as well. If it does not find the file, let's say in this example, right, let me just show you, it prints fine. Prints fine. But let's say it's on there, and I selected the file, but somehow it got deleted. You deleted it, whatever reason, you shouldn't. You can always update it just by reprinting. Remember, when you print, it will auto-save to the text file. Any changes made in the entry will save it to the text file. But say it got deleted for whatever reason, and I click print, see, it's still looking for that John, but it will actually create the text file for you if it does not exist. Just know that. So if I press print, print's fine. And if you see on my desktop, I have a new John file. If you open it, you'll see all that information there. So if here, you could actually change it. So let's say instead of John, I want to create a new file and call it Ethan. I don't have an Ethan folder, a file I mean. But if I click print, print's fine. And now I have an Ethan file with the information that was sent here. Remember, Loading Saved is the company name, customer name, address, city, state, zip code, and phone number in this specific example. But we can make custom versions, say whatever you want it to be. And that's how you can create a new file for a new customer. Now I have a John, I have an Ethan file. And one last thing I wanted to mention about the Pacific indicator itself. So Pacific is looking for an OP900 string. So I'll show you what I mean by that. but just know that if you're trying to use a different indicator or a different model, this particular one is the OP900A-MS. All our models will look like that. Just to verify, make sure the C18 setting is correct. So what I mean by that is you can download a free software like PuTTY, P-U-T-T-Y. You can download it free. And remember the serial port. You can always go Device Manager, right click, and specifically look for the Device Manager, the COM port for your indicator, your readout. For mine is COM port 3, but just unplug it, replug it in, see which one this goes away. So COM port 3, enter. See, it's waiting for something, no output. If I do capital P, you can see it prints out the date, time, and gross. If you look on the label, you'll saw it has that date, time, and gross. It also added the tare and net in this particular example, but you need to have it. If you press capital P and you don't see this, if you see like 315 space PT, then it will not work with the software. You can modify software, will make custom version just for your indicator. That's fine. Just realize this specific version will not work with that. You have to specifically make sure that if it is 900, what the string is looking for, and it's capital G, or is it capital R? Yeah, capital R. You'll see the weight. It should be like a number, the weight, pound, GR. That's specifically what it's looking for, the software, to actually open up. So if your indicator is not, when you press capital P, not showing up the date, time, and gross, then the indicator is the issue, and it will not print. If you press capital G or capital R and then it does not show anything at all, then the software itself will not even open. So just realize that if you have any problems where the software can't even open, or you make sure the COM port is correct and it still does not print, then most likely the indicator, the C18 setting, yes, is 3, but maybe the firmware on it changed. So specifically make sure that which version you have, and you can contact us and we can modify the software ourselves to actually make sure it's correct for your string output for your indicator. So this is the problem with the indicator, not the software itself. So that's the last step of troubleshooting, because email us if you have any problems. All right, thank you.